Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. You know how it is out there, right? Information overload everywhere you look. But don't worry, we're here to cut through the noise and bring you the real gold, the stuff that actually makes a difference.
Absolutely. Today, we're diving deep into something everyone's thinking about, building wealth.
Exactly. We're
Oh.
cracking open the book, Wealth Can't Wait, and we're not just skimming the surface, we're going for those core decisions,
Hmm.
the ways of thinking, the real actions you can take to, really get on the path to building that wealth and ultimately getting to financial freedom.
Think of it as your cheat sheet to understanding what really moves the needle.
Love it. So the book starts off, and this is really interesting, with this idea that, building wealth, it's not something that just kind of happens to you. It's a choice, a conscious decision. Like, step back, question that path you're on right now. Have you ever had one of those moments, like maybe a big life change, something happens, and it's like everything comes into focus? Well, the authors say, picking up this book, that can be that moment, that window of clarity. You get to examine where you're actually going in life.
What's so cool here is that the first step, maybe the most important one, isn't even about finances, really. It's like this internal shift, rejecting that default path and actively choosing, like, I'm going for financial freedom. But that means facing maybe some hard truths about what you're doing now, what you believe about money. The book calls wealth, get this, code for freedom.
Hmm.
Powerful, right? It's not just about the numbers in your bank account. It's about having choices, control over your time, your life.
Makes you think, for sure. And then there's the title, Wealth Can't Wait. It really hits you with that sense of urgency. Like, we all know time. That's something you can't get back. You can always make more money, maybe, but time, that's gone.
Yeah.
So it's not about someday. It's about starting right now.
Exactly. You can't rewind the clock, right? So if you're not totally happy where you're at financially, the message is you can change that starting today.
No time like the present, they say. So once you've made that choice, the book talks about something really fundamental, something that's at the core of achieving anything big, keeping your commitments, especially to yourself.
For sure.
You're saying the more you follow through on those promises to yourself, the better you function in every part of your life.
And that builds the self-trust, right?
Yeah.
You know you can depend on yourself, and that kind of confidence that carries you forward toward those bigger, maybe even like really ambitious goals you have for building wealth. It's like, yeah, I'm someone who gets things done.
Now, of course, the road to wealth, it's going to have some bumps. It's not all smooth sailing. But the book, it tackles this idea of failure straight on. They just say flat out, if you failed, that's okay.
It's so refreshing, isn't it?
Totally. They're emphasizing that failure, it's part of the process. The real setback is when you just give up.
It's like they're saying, use that failure, learn from it, and keep moving.
Absolutely. But then there are those like mental traps, right? Those wealth traps the book talks about that can really trip you up. One that stood out to me was the victim and negativity trap.
Oh, yeah, that one's a killer.
Right. They're saying when you constantly focus on those past, misfortunes, it leads to this blame game. You feel helpless, and ultimately you don't take action. Like the book says, it's hard to move forward with a positive vision when you're stuck in something from the past.
It's true. That negativity, it's a cycle. It makes it so much harder to take those steps, the actions you need to take to actually build wealth.
Another trap they talked about, this one's interesting, is the know-it-all trap.
Yeah, I know that one.
Right. That's when you think you have it all figured out. They quote Stephen Hawking, "The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, it is the illusion of knowledge." Like, if you think you already know everything, you stop being curious, you stop learning. And in the world of, wealth building, things are constantly changing.
So true. That illusion of knowledge, it can really hold you back. Staying curious, learning, adapting, that's huge in finance, in business, in everything, really.
Totally. But even with the best mindset,
Yeah.
taking action, especially when there's risk involved, that can be tough. The book, it gets this. It says, our brains are wired to play it safe, to avoid danger, and sometimes that can stop us from taking those leaps that could, really lead to building wealth.
It's like we're hardwired for survival, right? And sometimes that instinct clashes with what it takes to grow financially.
They share this anecdote, it's a great story, about one of the authors, David, pitching his real estate company idea to this group of, really experienced professionals. And they passed. They didn't go for it.
Wow.
And guess what? Those exact office spaces they said no to, they now generate over $1 million a year into passive income.
No way.
Yeah. It shows that there are always going to be reasons not to do something, risks to worry about.
Totally. But that story, it's a reminder that sometimes those fears, those doubts, they can lead to missing out on big opportunities.
Then they talk about the power of leverage. And they're not just talking about financial leverage here.
Right.
They're talking about surrounding yourself with talented people, like employees, advisors, consultants, mentors, coaches, you name it.
Yeah, building real wealth, it's rarely a solo mission. Having those people around you who have different skills, expertise, it makes a huge difference.
And it all comes down to taking ownership, like owning your circumstances, your successes, your setbacks, all of it.
Accountability. It's so crucial. When you own your situation, that's where change starts. You can make different choices, get different results. The book even says accountability is the breakfast of champions.
Love that. And to take that idea of leverage even further, they introduce this concept of thinking about yourself as a corporation, M-E, Inc.
That's interesting.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like applying those business principles to your personal finances. A successful company, it has goals, it manages its resources well. It's always looking for ways to grow.
So apply that same thinking to your own money, your own life.
And a big part of this M-E, Inc. mindset is measurement. They're really big on tracking everything. Your income, expenses, how much you're growing financially, all of it. And setting really clear goals so you can measure your progress.
Makes sense. You can't improve what you don't track.
Right.
And having those goals, that gives you a roadmap, keeps you focused.
And then they use this, I love analogies. They use this analogy of the air game versus the ground game. The air game, that's your big picture thinking, your strategic planning, your vision.
Got it.
They use the example of Alice in Wonderland, remember?
Right.
She realizes if she doesn't have her own plan, other people are going to make one for her.
Right. Without a clear direction, you're just wandering around, letting other people's plans take over.
The ground game, though, that's the execution. That's the day-to-day hard work, the grind, getting things done. They give these examples. There's Mike. He's got a killer ground game, works super hard, makes good money.
Yeah.
But his air game, not so strong. No long-term plan. So despite his income, he's not building lasting wealth.
Classic example of working hard, but not necessarily smart, right?
Then there's the opposite. The Ivy League MBA, awesome air game, smart, great planner. But the ground game, not so much. Won't get their hands dirty, so their businesses fizzle out. The point is, you need both. As they say, you have to have a good air game to take full advantage of your earning skills. You also have to have a good ground game to execute your plan.
It's that balance, the vision and the action. That's where the magic happens.
And this leads into maybe the most important part of the book, building wealth through assets, not just income. They tell this story about two lottery winners. One blows it all, ends up back where they started, maybe worse. The other one, though, invests in stuff like rental properties, passive income starts flowing in, and bam, financial freedom.
So it's not just about how much you make, it's about what you do with it, right?
Totally. They're talking about this shift from just depending on your cash flow to building a foundation of assets. And the first step, they say, is separating the income you earn from working. They call it vertical income. From the income your assets generate, horizontal income.
Vertical and horizontal, I like that. Makes it clear.
Right. And then they say, create a dream budget. Like, imagine your life where your assets are covering all your expenses.
So it's like reverse engineering your ideal financial situation.
Exactly. And to build those income-producing assets, they talk about strategies like using other people's money, what they call OPM, finding jobs that offer both salary and equity, even starting businesses geared towards investors.
So it's thinking outside the box, right? It's not just about your paycheck.
Definitely. And they remind us that the economy, it's always changing, it's cyclical. They're saying save up cash when things are good, then be ready to buy assets when the market dips.
Makes sense. Be prepared for those shifts, those opportunities.
Right. They also talk about expanding your horizontal income, those multiple income streams that come in regularly, like separate paychecks.
That's financial security right there. Multiple streams, you're not relying on just one thing.
Sometimes, though, when you're starting out, figuring out those long-term financial goals, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
The book suggests this cool exercise. Imagine you won the lottery.
Oh, I like this one.
Right, like no financial limits. What would your life look like? It helps you figure out what you really want, even if it seems far off right now. They say, if you get stuck, start dreaming.
Powerful. It's about getting past those mental blocks and tapping into what you truly desire.
They make this point about ease, too. Like, true ease isn't always about taking the easy route. It's about actively moving towards the things you want, even if it's hard. Like, starting your own business, that's a grind, but it might be more fulfilling than, a comfy, high-paying job that you don't really care about.
So it's about aligning your actions with your values, with your vision, even if it's the harder path.
And they challenge us to look at those have-to statements we all have, like, I have to go to work, I have to pay this mortgage. They were saying, step back, see the choices you're actually making, even within those obligations.
It's about taking back control, right? You're not just a victim of circumstance. You have choices.
And then they give this formula, event plus response equals outcome. E plus R equals O.
Catchy.
Right. We can't always control what happens to us, the events, but we can control how we respond, and that shapes the outcome.
It's about focusing on what you can control, your reaction, your actions.
They told this incredible story about Jesse, a surfer who became a quadriplegic. But he chose to find the advantages in his situation, applied that E plus R equals O, and created this amazing, fulfilling life.
Wow, that's inspiring.
It is. Shows that even in tough situations, you have the power to choose how you respond, to thrive. Now, something that's so important, but people don't always talk about, is unlearning those negative beliefs we have about money.
Oh.
The book says, what we know about money, that's at the heart of whether we have abundance or struggle. It's about looking at where those beliefs came from. Are they actually helping you?
So many of our money beliefs, they're subconscious, right? We pick them up from family, from society.
It's about uncovering those and seeing if they're actually serving you. And then there's this idea of dreaming big, of not settling for less than you really want. They talk about learned helplessness, where you set low goals because of where you're at now. They're saying, no, think big, dream big.
Don't let your current circumstances define your potential.
Exactly. And when you hit those bumps in the road, those setbacks, how you talk to yourself, that matters.
Yeah.
They say, ditch that negative self-talk, use language that's both positive and accountable. Like instead of beating yourself up, say, I'm going to figure this out and do better next time.
Your self-talk, it's so powerful. It shapes your whole mindset, how you bounce back from those challenges.
And the big takeaway the book really emphasizes, you have the power of choice. You can choose which rules to follow, which ones to break. You can even create your own game.
It's about being proactive, taking control of your own life, your own financial destiny.
Totally. They even challenge this idea that things have to be hard. They're saying that, meaning we assign that. They share this story about David, one of the authors, meeting a triple amputee, and it really shifted his perspective on what hard actually is.
Wow.
Right? And they even suggest try reframing those tough situations as easy and fun.
Interesting.
It's about shifting your perception, approaching things with a more positive, more resourceful mindset. But while they're all about that positive outlook, they also warn against what they call hopium.
Opium, what's that?
Like overly optimistic expectations, not based in reality. Be upbeat, take action, but be realistic too.
Got it. So optimism, yes, but with a healthy dose of reality.
And lastly, in terms of thinking patterns, they talk about hindsight bias. That's where you look back and think, oh, I should have seen that coming. It can make you scared to make mistakes. They say, stick to the fundamentals, like Paul's rules for real estate investing. Buy for the long term, make sure your cash flow covers your mortgage, that kind of thing.
Solid advice. Don't try to time the market. Stick to the basics.
Now, let's talk about some specific habits the book recommends. Habit number 1, live life by design.
Okay.
This goes back to having that plan, that vision. They quote Stephen Covey, start with the end in mind.
Okay.
David has this weekly ritual. He goes to a juice bar or a coffee shop, and he spends time like really thinking about his plan.
So it's about being intentional, right? Not just letting life happen to you.
Habit number 4, earn more by learning more. They say, in today's world, what you earn, it's tied to your skills. They quote Jim Rohn, learning is the beginning of wealth. And they talk about how sometimes adults, they resist learning new things, but kids, they're naturally curious.
That's true. We should be more like kids, always eager to learn.
The more you know, the more you can earn. They share this great story about Paul's different experiences in law school versus Oxford, how the structure and accountability at Oxford led to deeper learning.
So it's about finding the right learning environment, the right support system.
Habit number 5, this one's simple but powerful. Live below your means.
The classic advice.
Spend less than you earn, invest the difference. It's basic, but it's the foundation of building wealth.
It's about creating that gap between what you make and what you spend, and then putting that money to work.
Habit number 6, unhook. This is about recognizing how everyday stuff can get us caught up in negativity.
Interesting.
They're saying make a choice to unhook from those negative spirals, like wiggle your toes, take some deep breaths, anything to interrupt that pattern, And they point out a lot of those things that get us hooked, it's just our own stories, our interpretations.
So choose a different story, a more positive one.
They even have this present time consciousness mantra, PTC, to help you stay grounded in the moment.
Ah,
Now, they also have these 7 pillars of business to help you evaluate opportunities. Pillar number 1, client acquisition is king.
okay.
They argue that getting clients, that's the most important skill in any business, no matter what you do. They quote Harvey Mackay, "To me, job titles don't matter. Everyone is in sales. It's the only way we stay in business."
Makes sense. Without clients or customers, you don't have a business.
They tell this story about a lawyer who wasn't the best at lawyering, but he was amazing at bringing in clients.
So it's not always about being the best technically. It's about being able to connect, to build relationships.
Pillar number 2, leverage your team determines your wealth. Building a great team, that's essential. They even talk about the ideal number of direct reports, around 5, and quote Jack Welch on hiring top talent and giving them freedom to excel. They also highlight Paul's own team as examples of superstars, people who have been with him for a long time, who are incredibly valuable.
Having those A players around you, that can make or break your success.
Pillar number 4, modeling identify a person or company doing what you want at a higher level.
Well,
They quote Confucius, "If I am walking with 2 other men, each of them will serve as my teacher. I will pick out the good points of the one and imitate them, and the bad points of the other and correct them in myself."
love that.
They share this anecdote about an ENT doctor who was surprised when someone suggested he find and learn from a more successful doctor in his field.
Sometimes we get stuck in our own bubble, right? It's important to look outside, see what others are doing.
Pillar number 6, use the 80-20 rule to drill down to the vital few. That's the Pareto principle, where 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts.
The 80-20 rule, it's a classic.
Focus on the 20% that really moves the needle. Pillar number 7, invest in coaches, mentors, and masterminds. They use the analogy of a sports team needing a coach, question why we accept coaching in sports, but not in other areas of life. They point out that all those top performers, they have coaches.
Makes you wonder, right? Why do we resist coaching sometimes?
They talk about the power of accountability, having someone to provide perspective, to offer resources. They also delve into masterminds, quoting Napoleon Hill, "When there is more than one gathered together, the power of the group is multiplied exponentially." David shares how his mastermind group, they're all fitness enthusiasts, influenced him to prioritize his own health.
So it's about surrounding yourself with the right people, those who inspire you, challenge you, support you.
They also warn about energy vampires, those people who drain you.
Mm.
Walk away from those relationships. And lastly, they talk about creating momentum. It's about setting up the right flow in your business, having the right deal flow, the right talent. It's also about building virtuous cycles, those positive feedback loops. They have 5 key strategies for this. Know your numbers, have a clear vision, never stop learning, build those income-producing assets, what they call planting money trees, and always be evaluating, adjusting, using that feedback loop.
It's about creating those systems, those habits that keep you moving forward towards your goals.
The book ends with an appendix about taking action, doing a life audit. Break your life down into different areas, assess where you're at, where you want to go. They have this horizontal income statement to project your future asset income, emphasize that's where your long-term security lies. They have those more of philosophical questions to get you thinking, someday goals to define your vision, and power questions to spark new possibilities.
It's like a toolkit for taking control of your life, your finances, everything.
In a Q&A with the authors, they talk about this idea of enough wealth. They're saying it's more about personal growth. That never ends. The best time to start building wealth now, no matter where you're at. They talk about the importance of having a wealth vision, how it changes over time. They acknowledge their success in real estate, but emphasize these principles apply to everything. And ultimately, it all comes down to personal development. They also give 3 ways to get that capital to build wealth. Earn more than you spend, use other people's money, and earn equity through your skills and hard work.
So it's a holistic approach, right? It's not just about money. It's about your whole life, your mindset, your growth.
As we wrap up this deep dive into Wealth Can't Wait, here are a few things to remember. First, building wealth, it's a choice. Make that decision, have a clear vision. Second, build those income-generating assets. Don't just rely on your job. And third, manage your mindset. Challenge those limiting beliefs. Talk to yourself positively. Surround yourself with the right people.
It's all connected. It's about having the right mindset, the right strategies, and taking consistent action.
And here's a final thought for you. What's one thing you learned today that really resonated with you? Take action on that right now. Or start your own life audit. What's one small step you can take, even in the next hour, to move you closer to your financial goals?
Sometimes that smallest step, that's the most important one. It gets the ball rolling.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you found it valuable. We'll see you next time.